everybody, and welcome back to the 105th episode of Triboro Podcast. I am your host, Justin Alonso, joined by Nicholas O'Brien. And before I ask how he's doing, because I know how he's doing, we will be using the background a lot this episode.
Yay!
Drunk!
Yay!
That is a joke. But Nicholas O'Brien, on a scale of on a scale of you're perfectly fine to suicidal, where do you rank?
I'm fine. I'm like,
It's
I,
that
like
bad? It's that
I'm
bad?
I'm I'm in the middle, on the edge.
I'm fine for a man it means you're right there. You're
Can't
right there.
complain.
Oh, you're cooked. You're cooked.
I can complain a lot, and I will. But me and the family drove 7 hours to Pittsburgh.
It was 7 hours?
Yep, 7 hours.
There and back, or 7 hours?
7 hours there, 7 hours back.
Jesus Christ.
Pittsburgh is like at the end of Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I'm looking how far away this is from me now.
It's deep in there. But it was a good trip. We did have fun. Unfortunately, the Mets decided not to have fun with us. PNC Park is pretty cool. Good view. It's a good ballpark. Has a nice little kind of like the area surrounding it is good. Crossing the bridge to get to the game was cool. The park feels small, but in a good way. Like, you're sitting down, and it's kind of like it seems like very
I get what you
on
mean.
top of each other, but it's very like it's cozy.
It's 6 hours for me, by the way.
Yeah, that checks out. But no, it was a good time. Besides the Mets, laying a goose egg. We went to the one game where it was slightly more competitive than
the closest game.
The closest game until the eighth inning. So, I'll take that for what it is. But yeah, this team is just.
Whoa, we're still in the intro section, buddy.
I know. I'm just saying. This. We'll get into it, but.
Well, let's get into it right now.
Oh, okay. With that being said, let's go to Queens.
Now entering Queens.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Queens, where the Mets finish off a 2-win week where they played 7 games. And 3 of those were against the Pirates. Just let that sink in for a minute.
I did say you had to at least split with the Braves.
I did as well. And they did. What I did not tell them to do is score 4 runs against the Pirates while allowing 30. We'll get into it. But first off, we got Triboro MD injury report. And we got a little bit of a lengthy one and not very fun one. We'll start off with some of the good. Jesse Winker started his rehab assignment this past Sunday. Probably looking at maybe next week at the earliest, but more likely than not, I'm guessing after the All-Star break.
Is he just going to DH really quickly? Do they say if he's playing the field or?
It sounds like he's just going to DH. He just DH'd during in the one game so far. I mean, I think it might be one of those things where they just DH him, and if he's ready to DH, he'll come back. You know what I mean?
That's probably what they do. Because I'm just thinking about it like kind of like Stanton, where like he really, when you're a DH, you only need really like 3 or 4 games to do it. Right. And they could do a thing of like, you're coming back just as a DH. Use the All-Star break as a way to like come back fully, if that makes any sense.
Right. You kind of look at rehab a position over the All-Star break.
Yeah, if that makes any sense, but it also just depends if this swoon continues.
Yeah. Well, moving on from Winker. Kodasenga's keeping his arm loose. It was his hamstring that he hurt, so he's able to kind of keep playing catch, keep his arm loose. He played catch off of a mound, which I don't hear a lot of, but cool. He's throwing off a mound, just not pitching. But again, keeping the arm loose, so that's good to hear. He said maybe if all goes well, he'll be in a rehab assignment in like 2 weeks. So I forget how the minor leagues work. I don't think they're on break during the All-Star break.
I can look that up.
So maybe he can rehab during the All-Star break, potentially. While you look that up, really quick, Mark Vientos was activated for the Pittsburgh series. Jared Young was sent down. And Ronnie Mauricio lives to fight another day. I started to come around to Mauricio over the past week or so. He's looked like a much better left-handed hitter than right-handed. I mentioned that last week as well, and it just continues to be true. And Jared Young being a left-handed DH, Mauricio can kind of fulfill that role while also giving you some positional flexibility. And just to further my point, after this week, Ronnie has a 135 weighted runs created plus against right-handed pitchers, a negative 47 against lefties.
By the way, could not find anything on it, but I do know you have like the futures game and shit.
That's true.
And like the breakout game, whatever it's called. So I'd assume there's some overlap, but
yeah,
I have no clue.
Okay. Well,
could not find a definite answer.
But with Ronnie, he can play second base, he can play third base, he can play shortstop in a pinch if Lindor ever needs a day. But yeah, with Jared Young, he was just a DH. He really didn't play the field. He really wasn't hitting. And again, with Ronnie being a better lefty than righty, it made all the sense in the world to send Young down because Mauricio was providing much more as a left-handed hitter than Young has his entire time here. And as much as I liked Young, I liked the kind of player makeup. He hits the ball hard, he takes his walks, he doesn't chase, doesn't strike out a ton. Everything he did well in the minor leagues and everything he did well last year overseas and with the Cardinals in AAA, he just did not do in the major leagues. He chased, he whiffed, he struck out, he didn't walk. So it's unfortunate it didn't work out, but he'll be in the minor leagues. He did get options, so he'll be in the organization. But Ronnie probably will be here until I assume Winker comes back, or he takes the third base job, because we'll talk about it later, but we really don't have a third baseman. We have kind of 3 potential third basemen, but we don't really have one. So it's really there for the taking. But moving on from that, Sean Manaea, loose body in the elbow. He got a cortisone shot. I believe he started throwing again the other day. He's expected to make a rehab start this week, and if all is well, his next start will be in the major leagues. So much needed positive news from Manaea. And then we'll end it off with the biggest blow of the week. Griffin Canning will be out for the season with a ruptured Achilles. Fuck. That just sucks. Like, you don't see a ton of Achilles injuries in baseball. And I feel so bad for Griffin Canning, the person. Because as much as a rough stretch he's had over, along with the rest of the team, but over like the last month plus, he will now unfortunately end the season with a 3.77 ERA, over 16 starts, a 3.99 FIP. That fucking sucks. I really got nothing else to say. It sucks. I feel so bad, and from a team standpoint, it couldn't come at a worse time, because now your injuries are just piling up, absolutely piling up. It just fucking sucks for Griffin Canning, and Yeah, I feel horrible, and it sucks. That's really all I got.
I feel like this is the worst. The Mets offense, they just have not been able to hit recently. But the starters at least kept you in games somewhat. And the bullpen just blew it up. But now you're at the point where now the dam is starting to break. Or
I think
whatever.
it broke.
No, I mean on the rotation in the sense of guys are going down, guys are regressing, stuff like that. So you're really all the worst case scenarios are happening right now for the Mets, and they all just happen to be at the same exact time.
Yes, I think that does play a very big role in this tough 2.5, 3 weeks. Like you mentioned, there is the expected regression, and then just everyone's getting hurt. I mean, within the last 3 weeks, Griffin Canning, Tyler McGill, Kodai Senga. And then you have guys, Clay Holmes has started to I think the workload has caught up a little bit. He kind of slowed down a little bit. David Peterson's been hit in back-to-back starts. Excuse me. Frankie Montas had a good first start, really bad second start. Paul Blackburn is in the rotation, and how you're relying on Blade Tidwell. I mean, Paul Blackburn, Blade Tidwell weren't even supposed to be in the rotation. Blade Tidwell wasn't even thought about, but Paul Blackburn, Griffin Canning, Tyler McGill were like your starting pitchers 7, 8, and 9. And now you're on starting pitcher 10 on the depth chart with Blade Tidwell. I mean, fuck. What are you going to do?
I feel like you can't even remedy it with the trade.
Because it's multiple parts.
The Mets have a decent amount of assets in the minors, but I feel like you don't have enough assets to fix everything you need to fix.
Absolutely not.
Because you're going to trade for 2 or 3 starters? You're going to trade for 2 or 3 bats? You're going to trade for half of a bullpen?
Yeah.
That's half of the team.
Right. The silver lining is, Sean and I will be back, hopefully, next week or so. Kodai Senga not too long after that.
Well, even then, you were talking about Minaya last year throwing how many innings and just hitting a wall. So it could be a thing of he's just never the same because he threw so much last year. We've seen that happen before.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I think it's too early to kind of throw that out 100%.
Way too early to say. But just...
No, definitely. Yeah, that's something I talked about last year and, over the off season. And the wall might just be this injury that's just, keeping him out. So hopefully his arm is fresh when he comes back. But again, we'll see. Yeah, that's all I had for the injury report. We'll just kind of talk about the games, I guess. Like we mentioned at the top of the show, they split with the Braves, so yay. Thanks. That's what I asked for. Frankie Montas' start was good. 5 scoreless innings. The bullpen then imploded and let a 3-0 a 3-0 lead turn into a 5-3 deficit in 1 inning. And the other game, not gonna lie, don't even remember. What's really pissing me off is the fact you take the last 2 games against the Braves. You're feeling good. Fan base is feeling good. Going to Pittsburgh against one of the worst offenses in baseball, against one of the worst teams in baseball. You're not even facing Paul Skeens, and you get outscored 33-0 to 4. You score 4 runs against the Pirates. And I will say, because I don't know where the fuck this came from, their bullpen is kind of nasty.
Oh, it's always been nasty. I feel like they've not top to bottom, but I feel like they've always had 2 or 3 guys that are disgusting.
Yeah. I mean, but they have like 4 or 5.
What was that, what's his face? David Bednar? What was it, like a 93-mile-an-hour splitter he threw?
Yes.
That doesn't make sense.
The Pirates in their bullpen as of right now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 relief pitchers with an ERA under 3, 6 under 3.2. And then there's kind of like 2 kind of throw-ins. But, I mean, yeah, David Bednar.
55% of their bullpen.
2.28 ERA. Caleb Ferguson, remember him? 2.75. Braxton Ashcraft, 1.56. Isaac Mattinson, 1.84. Chase Shugart, 3.18. Dennis Santana, 1.5. Like, where the fuck did these guys come from?
They may get one top 10 prospect for all of them.
No, seriously. But, yeah, keep an eye out for the Pirates in the trade deadline for bullpen help.
Not even bullpen help, but just their team overall. Especially they have like 2 or 3 hitters that I feel like are going to be very interesting.
Yeah, maybe.
Brian Hayes, there's apparently been a lot of talk about him, but
I feel like there's always talk about him. But we'll see. He fucking torched the Mets this weekend because, the ground ball guy doesn't hit a fucking ground ball when he's playing the Mets.
Second worst OPS by a qualified third baseman in baseball this year.
That probably sounds right. I'm not even going to fact check that.
Something bad. It's really bad. It's definitely like bottom of the barrel, like bottom 5.
Yeah. But getting into the nitty gritty, David Peterson was rocked against the Pirates. Nowhere, fucking 100-mile-an-hour liners left and right, letting up 5 runs in 1 inning. He just got rocked. That's now back-to-back starts where he barely pitches 5 innings, lets up more than 4 runs. Against the Phillies, you can kind of be like, all right, fuck, the Phillies got him.
Ball go far.
Pirates, dude. Not like he was getting, hit home run. It's just fucking piss missile. Just, bah. And then Paul Blackburn, Saturday, game I went to. First of all, the game probably should have never started in the first place. They played an inning and a half, and then it rained for an hour and 45 minutes. I don't understand why the game started, but it did. Paul Blackburn started. He was fine. The rain delay came. Carlos Mendoza and the Mets decide to stick with Blackburn out of the rain delay, which you don't see a lot. I understand it because the bullpen has been used heavily because nobody is going more than 5 innings if they get to 5 innings. So you kind of want to see how much Blackburn can give you. But it did not go well. Rain delay finished. Paul Blackburn was then met with 5 straight hits from the Pirates. A 1-0 lead turned into a 3-1 deficit. And then Sunday, Montas just completely shit the bed. 5 runs in the first inning. And that's really all she wrote. Offense, nowhere to be found the entire series. Really, I honestly don't want to talk about the games because there's so much to talk about as a whole with this team currently.
Really quickly, just because we were talking about it, do you think that was the right move with Blackburn to leave him in?
I don't want to say it was the right move, but I don't disagree with it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I understand the thinking that, yeah, you need him to maybe pitch at least another inning or so because this bullpen is just completely taxed.
It also, to me, it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't, where there just doesn't seem to be a right answer, where I agree that just should not have started if you knew there was going to be, because they may not have known it was an hour 45 rain delay, but they knew it was going to be a lengthy rain delay.
There was clouds.
They knew there was going to be a hour plus rain delay. There's no real reason to start that. And when do the Mets play today, or are they off today? Off today? Okay.
Thank God.
I was going to say, because if you had a game today, and then you put in relievers after that, and you had to get, 24 outs?
Yeah.
If you had to get 24 outs out of your bullpen, then, but...
Right, and then...
It really just is... There's no right answer that if you put in the bullpen gets lit up, people are going to say, why didn't you leave in Blackburn?
Yeah. And then, Montas gets fucked up on Sunday, and you have to pitch more out of the bullpen again, so... Fuck. But I think the biggest thing that came out of this series with the Pirates is the Mets held a players-only meeting after Saturday's loss. Before I say anything, Justin, what's your initial reaction to that?
Didn't work.
Well, yeah, I guess.
I don't have an issue with it because at the end of the day, we've talked about how baseball coaches had the least impact on the players compared to any other sport. So at the end of the day, it's up to you could say, oh, Mendoza, bad move here. Who's the hitting coach that everyone hates? What's his name again?
Eric Chavez,
bad thing, did a bad approach, killed what's his face? Francisco Alvarez, yada yada yada. At the end of the day, it's down to the hitters to produce. Is down to the pitchers to pitch, to not give up 5 runs in the first inning to the Pirates. I'm looking at you, Frankie. So at the end of the day, I like it because I feel like some people, they'll be like, they don't want to speak their mind in front of the coaches because they don't want to think they'll lose playing time, whatever, this, that, whatever. So it's a lot better of an environment when it's just you and the other players. I like it. It seems like it didn't work yesterday. Hopefully it's one of those things of, for the Mets' sake, you just need time to let it ruminate, to sink in, and the off day will do it, but...
Yeah, I personally think it's a little overblown because of last year. You know, it happened last year, and it quote unquote worked. So I do think it's a little overblown.
I mean, it's at the same time though, like every team goes through rough stretches every year. It does not matter who you are. So stuff like the players' meetings are gonna happen. So I get what you mean of it is overblown, but I also really like it too because at the end of the day, they have to produce. Baseball is so mental. Like you just gotta air all those grievances.
Yeah, that's fair. But yeah, they said a couple players spoke up. You know, Francisco Lindor, obviously, Juan Soto spoke up, Pete Alonso, Jeff McNeil. Yeah, so a few of the veterans kind of spoke up, and they just, like you said, Justin, they kind of just aired out any grievances and talked about what they need to do better and things like that. So yeah, hopefully it works. Hopefully it kind of gets them back into gear. Hope, like you said again, maybe the off day kind of lets everyone sit down, digest, breathe. Then we get back to it on Tuesday. But obviously, this has now been, give or take, 3 weeks of poor play. I mean, it really started Father's Day, which was 2 weeks ago. But, you know, I mean, start like that weekend. So like 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. And we kind of talked about it at the beginning of Queens. Like, what's going wrong? Everything. Everything's going wrong. Everybody that you expected to regress is regressing all at the same time. Griffin Canning. The bullpen. Huascar Brazaban. Reed Garrett. Who else? Paul Blackburn's back, and he just sucks. Tyler McGill. He's been rough for a while before he got hurt. So it's expected regression. But again, regression that everyone kind of thought was going to happen. It's just all happening at the same time. Moving on from that, injuries. Kodai Senga, Tyler McGill, Griffin Canning, Max Kranick. That's all the new bullpen ones. And because of that, the bullpen has been in flux for the past week and a half. The Mets, as of this recording, have made 9 roster moves. Or have made roster moves in the past 9 days straight. There has not been a day for the past week and a half where they did not send somebody down and bring somebody up. It's so frustrating because it's literally just, I don't know if you've seen it. If you've seen like the meme, it's kind of like with the 3 check marks. It's like offense, starting pitching. Yes. Basically, if you haven't seen it, it's offense, starting pitching, and bullpen. You click one goes down. You click the one that clicks off, click at, the other one goes down, and so on and so forth. If you hit and the starting pitching is good, bullpen blows it. If you hit and the starting pitching sucks, you get outscored. If you don't hit, then the starting pitching is good and the bullpen's fantastic.
I feel like for the
Mets,
it's
literally
the
epitome of that.
I feel like
it's everything. It's everything.
I feel like with the Mets, you click 1, 2-1 click. You click 1, 2, 1, click. You click 1, 2, 1, click.
You know what? That's probably fair. But, like, we'll just talk for, I think it was Tuesday's game against the Braves, Frankie Montas's debut. 5 scoreless innings. You get up to a 3-0 lead. Bam! Huascar Brosbon doesn't know where the ball's going. You're down 5-3. Fuck. Pirates series. Starting pitching was just awful the entire series. David Peterson, boom, five runs in the first couple innings. Paul Blackburn sucks. Rain delay sucks. But on Saturday, it was the offense. It was 3-2 most of the game, and you couldn't score 1 run against the Pirates. Sunday, Frankie Montas, bam, 5 runs in the first inning. You suck. Fuck. And lastly, the offense's inability to score if runners in scoring position is finally catching up to them. One of the worst teams of runners in scoring position, the Mets. This is all year. This is not a new
not a June
issue.
Stat.
Yeah, no, this has been their bugaboo the entire year. Now, we've said it a few times now. We don't love batting average. But batting average with runners to scoring position. How many hits you're getting with runners to scoring position? The Mets rank second to last in batting average with runners to scoring position at 217, which is just above the Chicago White Sox at 208. Their weighted runs created plus ranks 24th at 91. Their OPS ranks 24th. With runners in scoring position, they have scored 19th most runs. For a team that was built on offense, for a team that going into the year we said the offense would need to carry the, subpar starting pitching, has not been the case whatsoever this entire year. The offense has been really bad with runners in scoring position. And I'm not sure where to go from here. I mean, a big issue with it is you have 3 or 4 kind of maybe not entirely major league players batting in the bottom 3 or bottom 4. After you get past Jeff McNeil, because that top 5 is solid. Lindor, I know, has slumped for a while now, really since he broke his toe. So you don't know how much that's bothering him. But Lindor, Nimmo, Soto, Alonso, McNeil. Excellent top 5. Mark Vientos, Brett Beatty, Luis Torrens, Ronnie Mauricio. As much as I like these guys, and as much as I'm rooting for them, they are not providing anything to this team. Carlos Mendoza called it out earlier in the week. Like, it's tough to score runs when the guys in the bottom of the order aren't getting on base to flip it to the big guys up top. We talked about that last week.
And just the pure math of losing at-bats for those top guys. How you think it's 1 a week or 1 a game, and then you add that up, and it's like, holy shit, you're losing a lot of at-bats for those guys.
Right. 7, 10 at-bats a week.
And then do that for 3 guys, yeah.
Right. 3, 4 guys, 5 guys, if you want to include Alonso McNeil.
We getting burgers?
It's like... Huh?
You said 5 guys. We getting burgers?
Shit, might as well. But that's like 50 at-bats you're losing in the week, and it's so frustrating to watch his offense. Because this offense should be good. Like, Francisco Lindor, Brandon Nimmo, Juan Soto, Pete Alonso, Jeff McNeil. Juan Soto is having one of the most impressive offensive months in Mets franchise history. Or had, because June is basically over now. Juan Soto had one of the best months in Mets history, period, point blank. The team's under 500.
2022 Aaron Judge, baby.
No, seriously. It's it's mind-boggling. It's absolutely mind-boggling. I really don't know where else to go because, look, you're gonna get Jesse Winker back. That's great. That is the only offensive. What's it called? Addition. Yeah, that you're gonna get back. You know, Francisco Alvarez is gonna be in the minor leagues probably for a while. You're not just gonna send him down and call him back up after a week because the team's struggling. One of these guys that can play third base needs to pick it up. Mark Vientos had a really bad return in Pittsburgh. He did not look good. He looked lost. He watched fastballs down the middle. I mean, it's like his at-bats are copy and paste each and every time. It's watch fastball down the middle, take a ball, take like a breaking ball outside the zone, take a breaking ball in the zone that clips the bottom of the zone, wave and miss at a curveball like in the dirt, or a slider low and away. It's the same thing for him, and this Mets team desperately needs him to capture at least, 60% of what he did last year? Like, this team just needs a average hitter at the bottom. After Jeff McNeil, the projected Fangraphs lineup, Mark Vientos has an 84 weighted runs created plus. Brett Beatty, 94. Luis Torrens, 84. Ronnie Mauricio, 93. But like we said earlier, he has better splits against lefties. So at least Ronnie kind of gives you, surprisingly, I can't believe I'm saying this, Ronnie Mauricio is giving you better production than Mark Vientos and or Brett Beatty.
Wait, because he's better as a righty.
He's better as a lefty. Sorry.
Okay.
He's better against right-handed pitching, batting left.
Okay, because you said it that way earlier, and then you said, okay.
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to
That's
make
what
sure.
I meant. That's what I meant. As a left-handed hitter, he is a much better player. But with the offense, I mean, there's really not much to do until maybe the trade deadline.
I mean, there's a scapegoat, but I don't know how much that does.
Right, and it's to the point where, and if you don't know what Justin's talking about, I'm assuming you're talking about Eric Chavez, the hitting coach. It's to the point where I personally do not think firing a hitting coach is going to change much. The Yankees did it, 2 years ago when they brought in Sean Casey?
I think.
Like midway through the season? Did that really help?
I don't know. It also is.
I don't think so.
I feel like it's also a thing with the Mets where I'm not going to say it's going to completely change the Mets season, but his approach is just shown like, yeah, this is god awful. So maybe there's something.
It's like, it's to the point where, like, is it the approach? Or is it just players not producing?
But it could just be players not producing, but you're not cutting these guys. Maybe.
Obviously.
So the only realistic thing that you could do is fire the hitting coach.
Yeah.
And I'm not calling for people's jobs, but I would be shocked if he makes it past the All-Star break.
Yeah, just so we put it out there, Andy Martino SNY put it out last night that, Mets officials still believe in the coaching staff, yada, yada. So it doesn't seem like anything is imminent. Yeah. But my perspective on the Eric Chavez thing is it's to the point where I don't think he's hurting the team, but I'm really not sure what he's doing to help the team.
I feel like you got to do something. That's more what it is, too, where it's like, I don't think he's helping the team either. He may not be hurting. We don't know. But I feel like he's not doing anything. And you got to do something. And I feel like that's the easiest thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. If David Stearns and the Mets want to send a message, that's the only message you can send. And we talk about, like, yes, this has been a really bad stretch. Don't get me wrong. And I'm not coping. I'm not trying to say, like, you can't be frustrated, because I'm frustrated. Watching this team has been so bad and so just infuriating. They're like a game and a half out of first place. 2 games up in the wild card, 10 games over 500 at the end of June. The optics of it would be pretty weird. Like, I understand it's been a really bad 2.5 weeks. You've won 3 games in 2.5 weeks. I understand how bad that is. But you still are in the middle of the pennant race, the wild card race, 10 games over 500. Like, it doesn't look right, I guess. And it's like, I don't know what that kind of sends. I don't know what kind of message that sends out to the industry about the Mets. Maybe it, sends a good message. Like, we expect better. We want to be better. So if you're not helping, you're gone. Or it sends like, all right, so you can be 10 games over 500 and in the middle of all this and you're still not happy with it. And you're like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. The optics of it would be pretty bizarre. But
I mean, even though you've said, like, the offense has been one of the issues all year, especially with runners in scoring position. So it's not like it's a thing of you're only doing it because he was bad over this 2-3 week stretch, whatever it is. Yeah. No, it's because it's been an issue all year. So
like, the Mets are
you literally sent down a guy. You can make an argument you sent a guy down because of it.
Yeah, that's fair.
So
the Mets as a team overall are 7th in weighted runs created plus. They are computer's freezing. Excuse me. They are 11th in on-base percentage, 6th in slugging percentage, 6th in OPS. They walk a ton. They are top 10 in walk percentage, top 10 in strikeouts, and yet they are 13th in runs scored.
You know what I also realized too?
What'd you realize?
That it's all the young guys that are struggling.
Yes, absolutely.
And because I was thinking about it, that because we were talking about it in the majors, not really that big of a deal who the coach are or whatever. Because I was like going a step further because in my head I'm thinking about all the development happens in the minor leagues.
Right.
But in the same breath, once you get to the majors, especially those first couple of years, there still is a lot of development. So if for no other reason than because of the bad stretch, look at what he's done to the young guys and how you can make an argument, stunted their development in the major leagues. He has not helped them continue to develop because Francisco Lindor is going to be Lindor. I don't think he's gotten worse. I think the toe is a big issue because there is a very big before and after the toe injury.
Yeah.
Pete Alonso has had a phenomenal year. He's up and down, whatever. Juan Soto has started picking up a lot better. Nimmo's been well. McNeil's been well. All those guys are veteran guys. You look at everyone else. Even Unk had a stretch too.
Yeah.
You look at everyone else that struggled, it's those young guys. So for no other reason other than he probably is stunting the development of those young guys that were all top prospect, especially Alvarez and Beatty.
Yeah. And, to your point, that's not a terrible conclusion to draw because I think it does have some merit. I think for the cases of Beatty and Alvarez, I think Billy Epler as an organization kind of rushed him a little bit, so that doesn't help. But again, it kind of goes back to my point. I'm not sure if he's hurting, but it just doesn't seem like Eric Chavez is helping this team. And, Mark Vientos and Brett Beatty are going to get their jerseys retired in Syracuse. But they come up to the major leagues, and besides last year for Mark Vientos, and besides 2 weeks this year from Brett Beatty, you're not seeing a lot of production. And the last hitter the Mets developed, quote unquote, Pete Alonso and Jeff McNeil, and that was in 2018, 2019.
Yeah.
So, like, it's not a good mark. Like, this team needs a homegrown hitter. Like, Brandon Nimmo, amazing. Pete Alonso, great. Jeff McNeil, great. Homegrown guys, but this Mets team desperately needs one of these young guys to take the third base job because I do not think David Stearns wants to go into the trade deadline needing a third baseman while also needing a starter and bullpen and maybe center fielder. And. Right. So again, I'm not
You want
sure.
a 6'7" outfielder
No,
that plays center field?
I'm all right.
You sure?
Yeah, for now. But I'm gonna quote this last thing I have really on like Eric Chavez and the offense or whatever. From Mets Analytics over on Twitter. The Mets are first in hard hit balls, second in expected weighted on base, third in average exit velocity, fourth in barrels, fourth in expected batting average, fourth in expected slugging, fifth in barrels per plate appearances, sixth in WOBA, sixth in OPS, sixth in slugs, sixth in home runs. They are now 13th in runs, 18th in batting average, 25th in batting average on balls in play. That has something to do with it. 26th in batting average with runners on, like we mentioned. 29th with batting average, 29th batting average with runners in scoring position. So there's a lot they're doing right. You know, they're hitting the ball hard, they're barreling it up, they're hitting home runs. There's just like this switch that comes on or maybe turns off with runners in scoring position that just completely just, and the team dies. So when it comes to that, I'm not sure what you do. I think a lot of this team's issues is you just need guys to play like they can play. Like June was a pretty bad month for a lot of guys. I mean, Juan Soto, obviously, like we talked about, amazing. Brandon Nimmo had a good June. Jeff McNeil had a good June. Starling Marte, Francisco Alvarez, who then got sent down. Those are all the 6 above average hitters in June. Ronnie Mauricio, no. Francisco Lindor, below average. Brett Beatty, below average. Jared Young, below average. Tyrone Taylor, below average. Luis Torrens, below average. We now look at the past 2 weeks, compare that to the whole month of June.
To June.
And
to June.
Shut up.
To June.
It was loading. Juan Soto, still hot. Brandon Nimmo, still playing well. Brett Beatty, 101, weighted runs created plus. Pete Alonso, 101. Ronnie Mauricio, 85. Jeff McNeil, 69. Starling Marte, 66. Luis Torrens, 43. Tyrone Taylor, 39. Francisco Lindor, 31 weighted runs created plus. Francisco Lindor has an on-base percentage under 2 in the past 2 weeks. And it also starts with him. Like, yes, as much as we want to say the toe, the toe can be bothering him. The toe can be an issue. It is super hard to score runs when your leadoff batter does not get on base.
He's leading the vote for All-Star, right? At shortstop?
Currently.
No shot he plays, right?
I doubt it. I really hope he wins the vote and he gets chosen to start, and then he says, "No, I'm good."
Yeah, he needs that. I'd even make an argument.
Rest.
You may want to give him the last game or two before the All-Star break off, so we could have like a 6-7 day rest.
Well, I think if they play the Royals before the break, if say they win the series by Saturday, I think you give him Sunday off.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. This team has been super frustrating for the past 2.5 weeks, and you got to rely on the guys you have to get better. That's really it. There's really not much else to say about that. You got to hit, you got to pitch, and you got to bullpen.
So you got to play
really
baseball?
It. And you got to play baseball.
No, that's what you just said. You just said you
you got to play baseball? Yes, you got to play good baseball. You got to play baseball.
But that just adds to the point of they are just not playing. That you said you got to play better at this. You got to play better at every aspect of baseball.
Yes, you do, because they haven't been. They're sloppy. They look defeated. They look, I don't know, done. Like, it's just, they get to an early deficit and they kind of just
roll over,
lay down, roll over, bark, paw, like, but
touch.
Yeah, I got nothing else. I'm really just kind of a little dumbfounded, really, just kind of how everything's going on. I know there wasn't a lot of like coherent thoughts in this, but I hope you guys understand. And Mets fans, I know you do.
Well, the Mets aren't a coherent team right now, so I think it it matches up well.
It does, but of course we'll finish off the look ahead. Starting on Tuesday, you got a 3-game set against the Brewers, and you get to face probably their 3 best starters. Definitely 2 of them. Because, of course, we get to face Freddie Peralta and Jacob Mizorowski because, you know, when the team's not going well, you just want to face the best pitchers on the planet. That's fine.
I mean, hey, you didn't face Paul Skeens, and look how that turned out.
Yeah, yes. Fair point. Tuesday, Clay Holmes versus Freddie Peralta. Oh, boy. Wednesday, Blade Tidwell versus Jacob Mizorowski. Bought tickets for that game last week. Not looking forward to it now. Thursday, David Peterson versus Jose Quintana. Lefty ace-off and Quintana's little homecoming. And then you got Subway Series 2.0 over at Citi Field. Paul Blackburn, Marcus Stroman, Frankie Montas.
That's what a 4th of July.
Yeah.
What a 4th of July. Frankie Montas versus Marcus Stroman.
And Clay Holmes gets to pitch against the Yankees against Max Fried.
I forget what his line exactly was, but I know Fried pitched very well against the Mets.
He did.
He went like 6 innings, 1 run, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
A very good start against them. That's Sunday Night Baseball game.
Yep.
Then who's after Fried again? Why am I blanking?
He was the last one.
Oh, he's the last one?
Stroman, Rodon, Fried.
Oh, Rodon, okay. Yeah. Really?
That's what Fangraphs said. I don't know if that's what they're going to do, but that's what Fangraphs is projecting. So.
Yeah. Oh, for some reason I thought Fried was pitching tonight. That's why. But
yeah. So. Yay. Yeah. Justin, you got anything else?
Do whatever you want against the Brewers, but lose the Subway Series.
I'm sure. Yeah, play better. Play baseball. That's all I got. So Justin, take us away.
And of course, since the Mets are going to be playing in the Subway Series, you're going to want to know what's going on with the Yankees when we get into the Bronx.
Now entering the Bronx.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back into the Bronx. So the Yankees are coming off a 3-3 week. They still have 2 more games in this month. Wait, it's June 30 or 31?
30.
They still have 1 more game in this month. But the Yankees so far are 13-13, perfectly made in the month of June. And overall, I think a lot more people, if the worst month you have is 13-13, you could do a hell of a lot worse.
You could.
So, but before we get into anything, of course, your injury update brought to you by the Triboro MD. We got a short one today, but a very important. One person, Luis Heel, threw 20 pitches in a live bullpen. He is scheduled to throw another during the Yankees road trip. They have a 7-game road trip coming up. Then he's likely to throw about 2 innings of work at about 35 pitches. After that, he may start a rehab assignment. You'd think a rehab assignment's probably going to be about like a month. Still the same timeline that we've been thinking the entire time of late July, early August. Really want him back. Mark Stroman had a really good start against the Athletics, but I do not expect that to be the regular. So we will milk every bit that we can get from him. And the nature of starting pitchers, you never know what can happen with them, knock on wood.
Mm-hmm.
So, but another something interesting I wanted to mention was Spencer Jones got called up to AAA.
Mm.
This screams trade bait.
You think so?
Where do you play him?
Yeah, well, we don't play him anywhere this year.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, he's getting.
Can he
older.
play center field?
He is a center fielder. Right. He is one of the best defensive players in the Yankee system.
I see. Okay.
Think about right now. Best case scenario is he is a faster Rangers Joey Gallo.
Right.
Like
I've seen a lot of comps to that.
A much faster Rangers Joey Gallo.
Okay.
So take that for what you will. Next year, you probably have 2 outfielders leaving free agency because I would think that Bellinger opts out at this rate.
Yeah, at the rate he's going, I think so.
Especially because it's only, I think, like $21 million next year. So I definitely think he's going to opt out. Definitely think Grisham's going to opt out. So I'll kind of get more into... Thank you. I'll get more into trades because I think I have a hot take later.
Okay.
But I don't know, just something that... Because he did hit I think he has 2 home runs so far in AAA in like the 4 games. He had a home run in a 114-mile-an-hour single off Tanner Houck. So, do you know that Boston team, their AAA team? Do you know how to pronounce it?
The Woo Sox? Is that the AAA?
No, like the city.
No. What is it?
Look it up, because I'll look up the Red Sox AAA team, because I want to see if you know how to pronounce this word.
Woo Sox. Oh.
You can do it.
Worcester?
Worcester.
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 Worcester. I hate this language.
Because my dad, he used to go to law school in Boston, and every time he would pass it, he would go like, "Oh, Worcester." They'd be like, "No, Worcester."
The English language is one of the dumbest fucking languages
you look
on
at
planet Earth.
Worcester.
Worcester, of course.
Oh, I don't think I told you this. So, for anyone that is in the great state of New Jersey, they know about the town Paramus. So there's a guy that I work with from Connecticut, and one of our weeks we are supposed to be in Paramus. So he kept saying, "Yeah, and like the weekend Paramus." Paramus. And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Paramus." Paramus. No, Paramus.
Paramus. Okay. Yeah, I see it.
I
get it.
Paramus.
Yeah.
Okay, anyways, Spencer Jones. I think I think they're dangling him a little bit, but
let's see what they can get for him.
We'll get into that later. Of course. So the Red Series, Game 1 was just Alan Wyness sucking. He went 4 1/3, 4 runs. Not good. Lose that one 6-1. 0 for 12 runners in scoring position. The only run was, I believe, this was the Aaron Judge home run that had a 45-degree launch angle. So everyone was like, "Oh my God, he hit that 500 feet," but no, it's just hit a mile in the air. So that's
high peak.
Yeah, that's why it looked like it went further. I want to highlight Game 2 because I typically do not get on the manager for a lot of moves. This one I will. So it was Carlos Rodon versus Chase Burns. First off, Chase Burns, holy shit.
Disgusting.
Holy. Disgusting. He is absolute. Like, I'm not even mad that, like, he had 6 strikeouts through 2 innings. He was throwing 102. Disgusting. The Reds have they are an up-and-coming team, and somehow they're only 4th in their division. So what I want to talk about is they were up 3-0 after 6 innings. Carlos Rodon was at 88 pitches, and he has 6 scoreless. What do you think of them pulling him?
At least start the inning. I mean, 88 pitches isn't a lot.
This is not the move that I'm going to get on for him. Oh. I agree with this. Because it's 100-plus degrees. The humidity is horrible.
I forgot.
Rodon, I think, even himself, like, you could tell he was fatigued.
Yes, I forgot about that. All right.
I'm not going to get on them for that move. I agree with that move. I think a lot of people are kind of overreacting to that move because you got to take the heat. He says he is not ready for that. He was fatigued. He could not give you more.
Yeah.
What I will get on them for is Jonathan Loaizaga said that he was very sick. He was very sick, and you put him into a 3-0 game in the 7th inning. He loads the bases, then gives a base clearing double. Right after that, comes out, and he's, like, tapping on his chest, kind of, saying, like, it's, like, hard to breathe. Like, when, like, the trainer's walking out with him. Can't show up to the ballpark the next day because he's sick. That's the issue I have.
Yeah.
I think that's horrible, man. Like, You want to be a player's manager, all this stuff, whatever. How are you going to put a guy into a game that literally cannot breathe after throwing 20 pitches?
Yeah.
In 100 plus
pretty
degree
rough.
heat. That's the issue that I have. I'm trying to think of a way that it makes sense. You know what I mean?
Unless you didn't know he wasn't feeling good.
I feel like it's also a thing of, if it's so serious you can't be there the next day, that the bullpen coach at the minimum would know.
Yeah.
And the bullpen coach would have either said something to Boone in pregame stuff, or two, would have said something when he called saying, like, hey, I'm not sure Loaizaga is, like, good enough for today. He looks pretty sick.
Right. Yeah.
Or at least mention it. Maybe not say, like, oh, don't put him in. Maybe say, hey, just so you know, Loaizaga's been, like, coughing up a lung here.
Mm-hmm.
That's the issue I have, where that's
fair.
Does not make sense to me, why you would put him in a 3-run game. Especially against a Reds team that, as we said, they're young, where they could score 1 million runs or they could get shut out. Don't give them that opportunity to score 1 million runs.
Yep.
Then you end up losing in extra innings. The Jazz ejection I want to talk about because I love Jazz. I love everything he's done for this team. I love the personality of Jazz. He just needs to mature a little bit more, because it's one thing to get mad at that ball, because that was very clearly a ball. It was a 2-0 count. That could not have been more of a ball. It should have been 3-0, but he gave away the at-bat because of it, and he's like getting mad, whatever, yada, yada, yada. Then he goes back into the field, and he starts like yelling at himself. He's not yelling at the umpire. He's just like yelling at himself, whatever, this, that. Jose Trevino points the umpire in his direction and says, like, hey, like, he's saying something. And then Jazz says, what are you looking at? What are you looking at? I don't know about you, Nick, but what are you looking at? It seems like universal fighting language.
Yes, I agree. It's very antagonistic, very confrontational. Don't say that when you're walking around New York. Like, I agree. It's been one of my problems with Jazz. Love the player, love the energy, but sometimes I don't even know if you want to call it ego.
I think
but
maturity is like immaturity shows.
He gets in his own way a lot, and this was a, perfect encapsulation of that.
Yeah. And it's a thing, I love Jazz. He is one of my favorite players. He is the second best player on this team right now, maybe third, depending on how you want. It's so hard for me to rank hitters and pitchers together. I think it's impossible to do because you can't really quantify that value, but regardless, he's the second best hitter on this team right now. You can make an argument he is the best over the last 2 weeks, just because Judge has been in a mini slump. You get the reason why he's not on a $300 million contract is, one, he's pre-arb, or not pre-arb, he's free agency. And the maturity and the inconsistency. You take the highs, you take the lows, but I would love to see just a little more maturity out of Jazz. I'm not going to rag on him. I'm not going to do this. It wasn't good. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. He should not have gotten ejected there. That is 100% on him. I will say, people are like hating on Jose Trevino. That's just gamesmanship.
Absolutely.
Like, that's just, if Austin Wells did that to input whoever, you would be to the other team's best player. You would be happy that he did that. So I'm not gonna rag on Jose Trevino. I will say, in his post-game conference, he did kind of be like, "Oh, I don't know what I was doing." You knew what you were doing. Like, that was gamesmanship. I will say that kind of did irk me a little bit, but whatever. Regardless, then they scored their first run in extra innings on the road this year by a passed fucking ball.
Congratulations.
They ended up losing this game. I forgot. I think it was the 11th, 12th inning, whatever. They ended up scoring a run off the pass ball. Then they give up 2 more runs because Mark Leiter Jr. got forced to a second inning, which was not good. But it's also, they just didn't have anyone in the bullpen, realistically, that could have pitched. So it's like, whatever. Win the last game. Fried was awesome. 7 innings, 1 run, but it was an unearned run. Grisham and Dominguez both had 4-hit games, and 3 of those hits from Dominguez were from the left side, or against a lefty from the right side. Great to see that. overall, the Red Series, first game was just winning, sucking. He just was not good. Second game, I think, was a game you should have 100% won. You got to win that game. You have a 3-0 lead going into the 7th inning. You got to come out of the 7th inning stretch ready to win that game. Like that's just
absolutely.
That.
Those are the ones that hurt.
Yeah. Last game was just team win. Freed awesome. Whatever. The Athletic Series seems like the exact opposite of the last one, where you're very happy with 2 games, not happy at all with the other one. So the first game, Will Warren, awesome. He went 5 innings. I think he had, no runs, obviously, because it's 3-0 game. Struck out that fraud Jacob Wilson twice. Fraud watch, taking that Rookie of the Year from you. He had a Jazz Porcher. That was a big run. And then the interesting thing in this game is that they went Weaver Williams for 8th, 9th inning. I really like that. That Devin Williams now has his confidence. And I always get scared with Weaver just because I don't know when it's going to stop being real with Luke Weaver. Like, just to put it, like, I don't know when kind of like the tires are going to come off with him.
Yeah, and what's the bottom falling out?
Williams is a lot more established of a guy. And I also think that Weaver just gives you so much more versatility. Where if you want to put him in the 7th and 8th because you have to, he'll do that. Devin Williams did say that he's not a multi-inning guy. And Aaron Boone, he even said, he may be. And then Devin Williams was like, no, I'm not. I don't really have an issue with that. I think there's more of an issue with, I feel like there's some disconnect with this team and Boone. Because let me circle back, because I wanted to talk about this in the Red Series, but I completely forgot to. Scoring 1 run, and I think it's 6 extra inning games on the road is pathetic, especially when you did not knock that run in. It was because of a bad pitch. And that is an approach thing. That's just straight up an approach thing. They don't look like they're trying to score 1 run. They look like they're trying to score 10 on 1 swing. Play a little bit. It's called situational baseball for a reason, because it's good in certain situations. We've talked about this how long that at some points, like, may not be the worst thing to drop a bunt down, especially for certain guys. So they got to get better at that. And Boone said, like, oh, I don't know our record. Oh, I think we're fine. We don't really need to. Judge said, like, yeah, like, sometimes we need to get better in situational baseball. So it seems like there's this disconnect where the players think one thing, Boone doesn't. I don't know if it's a thing of Boone just saving face in the media.
Yeah.
Which probably
could be a PR thing.
It could just be a PR thing. So who knows?
Yeah.
Not the best look.
Weird optics, for sure.
Yeah, that's probably the best way to put it. But then, so I think that's just a storyline to watch. Just like, why do we have completely different things coming from multiple different players?
Yeah.
Last game, or the game 5, Clark Schmidt set the record for the longest scoreless streak by a Yankee starting pitcher since 1958. Yay!
And
then no. And I'm going 6 innings, 4 runs, 7 strikeouts. So say what you want. Not a bad start overall. Not a good start. Not a bad start. Not a horrible start. Not a good one.
7 innings, 4 runs.
6.
Right. 6. Well, sorry. 1 run away from a quality start.
Whatever. But the offense is going to shut out. That's the issue.
Yeah. Definitely.
Last game, Mark Stroman, like I said, solid. 5 innings, 1 run, 1 strikeout. I just thought that was funny that he had 1 strikeout, but whatever. Jazz had a Porcher and a triple for his first 2 hits. I thought he was going for the cycle, and that made it very much so go under the radar when Cody Bellinger was a triple away from the cycle at one point in the game. Yeah, the 2 home runs from Aaron Judge, which he just got a hold of both those baseballs. Hopefully he's getting a lot more confidence, because I did want to say something on Saturday's game. He had a 407-foot flyout. That would have been gone in 20 out of 30 parks.
Holy crap.
That would have been Cal Riley's 9th furthest hit ball this season.
Okay.
I just thought that was funny how Cal Riley, I think, has 15 home runs hit under 370 feet or something like that.
Really? I didn't know that.
It's some crazy stat like that. Or it's like most home runs hit under a certain amount, and Cal Riley has like the most by far. So that plus home run derby, there's a regression monster is coming for you, Cal. But
yeah, probably. And just the catching.
That too. Playing every day
is going to wear on him. Yeah, he'll slow down.
I just wanted to mention because I saw that and I thought that was kind of a crazy stat. And it kind of just goes to show that Judge in this like 2-week stretch, whatever you want to call it, he had a 700 OPS. In his slump, he is a league average hitter. Okay. And I think it just goes to show how historic he is, a stretch of a run he's on. That when he is human and an average player, he is god-awful.
Yeah.
So
he's a bum.
Seriously, he's a bum that's hitting better than Brett Brady.
It's not hard to do.
I know. I just had to take my shot. But win the series, I think it was like a 12-5 final score. Whatever. Overall, good series against the Athletics. Could have been better. You take 2 out of 3. Really would have loved if you could have taken that game 2 in Cincy. Yeah. I would feel very confident going into next week. If you didn't want to. But overall notes, I really did want to talk about Dominguez for a second because they showed a stat on the Yes broadcast that through May, so the first 2 months of the season, he had -6 outs above average in the outfield. In June, he was +1.
Oh. Improvement?
Short sample size, but the fact that he's +1 and not negative, I think says something. And there were even a lot of balls that I've seen that, like, he kind of ran through. I mean, like, he's running, catch it, and keeps running. Where in the couple of months before, he kind of would have just stopped before. He wouldn't have made the play. He would have kind of just, like, hesitated, kind of let it fall in front of him. So if he's a tick above league average in left field, huge. Especially because, do you know what his WRC plus in his last 31 plate appearances against lefties is?
115.
133.
Oh,
he's hitting 346, 419 on base, 385 slugging. Slugging's not there, but on base there. The BABIP is pretty high. I forget what it was, but it was relatively high. At the end of the day, this at the very worst, building confidence in Dominguez. Yeah. So I love that. And the reason why I'm saying that is that he should not be sitting every day because you got 2 guys that have to sit every day. And I will transition that over to Ben Rice because Ben Rice should just also not be sitting every day. If you wanted, say you play 7 games, if he's starting 5, okay, fine. I think he should play every day, but sure, you got to rotate guys in, yada, yada, yada. I have a question for you. By the end of the season, let's start at the beginning of the Athletics series.
Okay.
Who will catch more games between Ben Rice and Austin Wells? Because Ben Rice caught 2 out of 3 games this series.
I do think this is still Austin Wells' job to lose, but I think it's going to be like a 55-45.
Austin Wells also has a 91 WRC plus, where I forget what the exact stat was, but I believe that's it's like bottom 5, bottom 3 for a qualified catcher in baseball this year.
Yeah.
A 275 on base.
Yeah. He's been really disappointing.
The defense is still there. No complaints about the defense whatsoever. Yeah. But his walk rate, 5% lower than last year. His his O swing, which is swinging outside of the zone, 5% higher. The reason I asked this is because I said he started 2 out of 3 of the games, Ben Rice. This is where I get to my hot take. Is Austin Wells a trade candidate?
I'm going to say no because I do think it's a little early. He's still,
He's still
second year pre-arb? First year? Third year.
This is his second year, yeah, because he had he was a September call up in 23, so this is his second full year.
It's probably still a little early, but if Ben Rice proves he can be a good catcher, then maybe.
Because I know it sounds crazy. I know it sounds crazy to say, and it's just because I was writing all this up, and it kind of just dawned on me. Because I love Austin Wells. I do not think they should trade him one bit unless you get an insane package in return. But you look at it, who else? Because I think one of the regulars gets traded. I think they almost have to. Who else are you trading? Grisham?
Paul Goldschmidt?
Even then, he's still killing lefties. He still brings value to this team.
Absolutely.
Ben Rice. But I think the Yankees are so high. I think the Yankees are a lot higher on Ben Rice than other teams are yet.
Yeah.
So I just don't think that they. So it's.
You could also just have two really good catchers.
That too, but you're gonna carry Escara then as well.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
So it's
I don't envy the decision.
You see what I mean? Where the more and more you think about it, it's an actually very interesting question. Because with Grisham and Austin Wells, it could just be seen as a thing of capitalizing on value. Grisham, fourth outfielder, probably going to lose him in free agency, whatever. Because I saw a lot of people saying, oh, bring Grisham back. You're signing Grisham to a multi-year deal? Because that's what he's going to get. Yeah. Grisham is going to get at least a 3-4 year deal in free agency. You doing that to capitalize on value? Or Austin Wells, he is still a premier fielder behind the dish. A lot of teams will look at what he did last year and be like, oh, that's probably just a little bit of regression. I think that he could come back and be a lot better. And you could get a lot for a guy that's 4.5 years of control with that elite defensive catcher with a lot of offensive upside. So, again, I'm not calling for it because I love Austin Wells. I think that he will figure this out. I think a lot of it has to do with his swing decisions and just striking out a little bit more and walking a lot less. So, but just an interesting topic of conversation that I saw because also
Definitely.
I don't really have much to talk about with the Yankees because I already talked a lot of it. And a lot of this does come down to looking ahead at the trade deadline because you said last week, who are you really looking at third base? Because that is the position kind of targeting. Because I also think that Jazz, much as I love Jazz, and Jazz made some really nice plays over the weekend at third, he is a much better second baseman. And that's not a knock on him at third. It's just that is his natural position. He is awesome. I love that double play combination of him and Volpe for short and second. But you look at a guy that I really like, and I talked about a lot in the offseason, is Willie Castro. I don't know if the Twins move on from him, but that would be a guy that I would be very interested in trading for. Because what's the Twins' record again? I was looking at it yesterday. I forget what it is.
It is.
They're 40-44. They're 4 games under 500, and I think the Royals will pass them because I think the Royals are a better team than them.
Okay.
What?
I don't think so, but whatever.
Well, it's a 1-game difference. I'm just saying it's a 1-game difference. I think the Royals will. But it also is hard for a Yankee fan to be objective about the Twins.
Yeah, yes.
You know what I mean? Okay, so let's see this. So the Twins are 40-44. After they play the Yankees, they're going to be 40-50. So, so I just had to put that jab in there. No, but Willie Castro is on an expiring deal. You look at the bat. I think he has a 127 WRC plus. He is below average defensively. He's not good, but he's also played I think 6 different positions this year. You look at his Fangraphs and you look at the game log. I think he has 20 games in 5 different places just because. Yep, you're counting.
Sick. He has played 6 positions.
Yeah. And I think in this year, he hasn't been good defensively overall. But you look at his career, especially for third base, it's not that bad. I forget if he's just above average or just average or like a tick below, but like it wasn't anything that like overly concerned
Egregious.
me. Yeah, like it wasn't anything that was like that crazy. He's a guy I'm definitely looking out for third base. Outside of that, what the hell are the Diamondbacks gonna do? Because they're another interesting
That's
team.
the big one.
That's the big one. Like what the? I think
they have so much to sell off if they do.
The Diamondbacks, I feel like, are gonna dictate this deadline.
Probably, and the Braves.
The Braves too. Well, I think it was Ken Rosenthal. I saw it earlier this morning. Said that the Braves are not gonna sell.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like their MO, but if they do, they do have a few pieces they can trade off. But
where is it?
That would be nice to see.
I saw it this morning. It's Mark Fine said why the Braves are unlikely to be trade deadline sellers. I didn't read the article, saw the headline. He's a guy that's like credible, whatever.
Yep.
So I don't think they sell. Even then, you're not. Who are you getting to play third base from them? Because that's
you're not getting a third baseman.
You're not getting Austin Riley. Like
no,
like that's just not happening.
Ozuna from the Braves.
No, not Ozuna. Yeah, put him at DH, so we have a 3-person logjam now.
Giancarlo Stanton, third base.
Oh
Who says no?
No, but Ben, because this all goes back to Ben Rice and how him overtaking Austin Wells. He's looked good defensively behind the dish. I have not had any complaints. There's no real data yet on him because he's not qualified. He actually rates very well in pop time, though. Yeah. And I remember the first stolen base, or the first runner he did throw out. So, Uno, something like that. And I've said this so many times. I don't get why people just act like he's not a catcher. That doesn't make sense to me that people are just... The reason they taught him first base was because they wanted him on the major league level, and first base was the easiest place for him to play.
You mean the drafted catcher can play catcher?
That's played catcher his entire life up until last year.
What?
I don't... And also the Yankees, I think the thing that I worry about the least, and the thing that I have the most hopes for and know that they could do, is develop catchers defensively. Because you look at what half the league has a Yankees catcher. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's another reason why I don't think trading Austin Wells is out of the question, because they've shown that they are aggressive in trading catchers. Yeah. You could even go back to Gary Sanchez, even though Gary Sanchez was a lot more. The writing was on the wall for a lot longer with Gary Sanchez. But you look at all the catchers they've traded over the last couple of years, and Gary, Higgy, Torrens, Narvaez, I said Torrens, Trevino. There's so many catchers, and you take out Gary. Everyone I just mentioned was in the last 2 years.
Right.
So they have
3 of them were the last, 10 months? 12 months?
So it's like, I wouldn't be shocked. I don't think it's going to happen. But I will clip this because I said, what if Austin Wells gets traded? Yeah. That's really all I had for the Yankees. Like I said, there's not many storylines to talk about. It's just play better. Judge had the 2 home runs. Hopefully that gets him going. He's playing in Toronto where he has really good numbers. Hopefully that's like another thing. But then looking ahead, you got Carlos Rodon versus Max Scherzer. And this is not Max Scherzer.
Scherzer is back.
Yeah. Yeah. Max Fried versus Kevin Gausman, Will Warren versus Jose Barrios. So in Gausman and Barrios, you got 2 guys that the Yankees have a lot of history against. Whether that be good history, whether that be bad history. Kevin Gausman has a 4.21 ERA so far this year, so he hasn't been Kevin Gausman this year. Yeah. Jose Barrios has a 3.26, but a 4 FIP. So those are both...
He's always an overperformer. He'll come crashing down eventually.
Those are both guys that the Yankees either... and I mean, kill. I'm thinking about that 54-pitch inning that Kevin Gausman had earlier in the year, or they go 7 scoreless with 12 strikeouts. There is no in-between for those guys. And that can be said about the 4th guy the Blue Jays are starting in. Clark Schmidt versus Chris Bassett. Bassett is the opposite. He has a 4.29 ERA, 3.65 FIP. Say what you want there. And then, as you mentioned, we do have the Subway Series, and My tab is too small, so I'm going to see if I can remember it.
You got
Marcus
it.
Stroman versus, oh my God, the ex-Yankee. Oh my God, Frankie Montas.
Wrong.
Who was it?
Blackburn.
Blackburn, okay. Montas is the second game.
Yeah.
Versus Blackburn. Then the second game, Carlos Rodon versus Frankie Montas. And then in the last game, Max Fried versus Clay Holmes.
Yep. That's the one.
2 ex-Yankees and Paul Blackburn is what you're facing.
And Paul Blackburn.
And Paul Blackburn. Right. You have a guy whose spine is leaking from the faucet.
All right. He's done.
I'm sorry.
We turned off the faucet.
I'm sorry.
He's not leaking anymore.
I feel like since it's not a serious injury, that's just something that I just want to make jokes about and constantly reference how he just casually had a spinal leak.
I know. It's so bizarre.
But whatever. But Rodon and Fried. I know Rodon has had a mixed bag versus the Mets at times. He had a really good start last time against them.
I would say good.
Good.
He got away with some jams that he put himself into.
But he got out of them.
Yes. I also think that's more so the Mets' inability to hit front of the scoring position. But
from the Yankees' perspective, it was a really good start.
Sure.
Because there is something to, and I think it does have to do with that, but like David Cohn mentioned something too, that how if hitting with runners in scoring position is a skill, then so is stranding them.
Mm-hmm.
That's something I never really thought about. How like we talk a lot about how like hitting with runners in scoring position for certain guys so impressive, so like they suck with it. That also is a skill for pitchers for stranding them. And I'm not saying specifically for that Mets start. I'm just saying
I get it.
In general, that's something I never really think about. That some guys are just better with that. David Robertson, his nickname is literally Houdini. That is literally his nickname, which he's still unsigned, right?
Still unsigned.
That's got to be like him saying he doesn't want to play, right?
I was just gonna say that he must just not want to play, which
that
sucks,
just has to be what it is. But
yeah.
Anyways, the Toronto series, it's in Toronto. Toronto is a very weird place for the Yankees, but you have your 4 best pitchers pitching there. You have your 2 best pitchers pitching against the Mets. You have to go at least 4-3 this week. You have to. It really is just a thing of, especially with, because I said this after the Yankees won in the Subway Series. Subway Series, cool. It's fun. Whatever. At the end of the day. But you have a chance to, you lost a lot of ground in the AL East. Whatever. That's going to happen. The 3rd place team right now is the Blue Jays. You could dig them a deep hole if you go 3-1 or even sweep this series. If you go, I care a lot more about winning the Blue Jay series than I do the Subway Series. If you go, I would much rather go 3-1 against the Blue Jays, lose the Subway Series, than go 2-2 against Toronto and win the Subway Series.
Yeah.
So that's all it comes down to at the end of the day. Wario is back for the Blue Jays. He's hitting very well. I forget if it was the last 30, 40 games or whatever, but they showed like a stat that he was hitting very well. And he kills the Yankees. God damn it, Wario. But people, if you think I'm just calling him Wario, look up Alejandro Kirk and tell me he does not look like Wario. If he was a Pittsburgh Pirate and in yellow, he would be literally Wario.
Yeah. But my little man can play. That's
so
a baseball player right there.
So annoying. But yeah, we talk about Francisco Alvarez calling himself a troll. No.
Yeah.
But yeah, win the series against the Blue Jays. I would very much so appreciate a Subway Series win, just because we have to talk about that on the podcast. But if you don't, I at least like that the 4th of July game is not a good game.
That's hilarious.
Because I'm going to have friends over. I'm going to be doing a lot of stuff. So I don't know how much of this game I'm going to get to watch. So I'm at least a little grateful that this is the worst pitching matchup and the one that I'm least looking forward to.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah. But anyways, that's all I had. Unless you had anything else to add. Other than that the Yankees are going to win the Subway Series.
I wouldn't doubt it. Playing better than the Mets, and the Mets just got to pick it up.
And that's not because the Yankees are playing all that well. It's
not
just
that
because,
good either.
Yeah.
The Mets are just fucking one of the worst teams in baseball the past 3 weeks, but whatever. Who cares? I do. But with that being said, thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching.
Would also say that they care, but
yes, that's true. But whatever.
And a particular island that is long, but
yeah, and we got a mix of everything here, so who knows? But that
outro
being
monkey.
Said, thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching. As always, remember to subscribe. Leave us a comment so you never miss an episode. I switched it, but whatever. If you're listening on Apple
subscribe,
Apple
like,
Podcast,
follow, share,
or Spotify, follow, rate, review. Let us know that you're enjoying the show. We appreciate it. A lot of you guys who watched last time were not subscribed, so subscribe so you don't miss an episode. If you keep coming back, follow all of our social media accounts: Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter. Post lineups, post final scores every single day, and the occasional podcast clip when one of us has the time. So thank you again for listening and or watching, and we'll see you next week with another episode.